Hi, you're watching Side Seekers and this is Romesh Srivastava. Please do subscribe to the channel for the HR news, for HR updates and conversation with the topics channels. Today we are going to discuss about a report on sexual harassment complaints at the workplace. Recently, a report is released by the Economic Times and Complykaro, and this report talks about the surge in sexual harassment complaints in financial year 2023. This reports also talk about the industry-wide some data. So we will discuss in detail, and to help us, we have two senior panelists. Let me introduce Mr. Jayant Bakshi, is a founder and practice leader at SolvingComplexities, and Ms. Raina Khatri Tandon. She is a founder and CEO at Right to Rise. Jayant, if I come to you first, so if we trust our reports, according to this Complykaro report, there's a 31% jump in sexual harassment complaints in financial year 2023 if you compare with financial year 2022, which was I think 25%. How do you decipher this data?
So I'll probably go back to the article that you refer in the ET. The way my understanding is this data has been culled out, this data has been developed, is that Complykaro, or the agency that has put forward this data, they are looking at the 370 companies in the BSE 500 list of companies. Now, as you know, since these are listed companies, when they put out their annual report, they also mention the number of cases that they have had of sexual harassment in a particular year. My sense is that they have looked at all these 370 companies, the balance sheet, the annual report, and from there they have pulled out this data and compiled this, which I think to begin with is a great exercise, because at least it's showing us what is happening in the listed companies. Private, of course, we'll keep that on the side for a minute. Now, what the data is telling us is there is 31% increase year on year, financial year 22 versus 23, in the number of cases in these BSE 500 companies. That is how I'm looking at deciphering this data to begin with. Now, what does this 31% increase mean for us? Definitely, to begin with, more cases are being reported. I think part of this discussion would also be why is the reason, is it because of awareness, more cases are being filed, or is it that the actual number of incidents of harassment are increasing? Probably something we'll keep discussing through our discussion today. So I'll pause and probably, have Raina also come in.
And Raina, how do you decipher this data? And added question would be that this is just because of the awareness, or there's also rise in actual cases, the actual number of cases.
So good evening, everybody, and all our viewers. Thank you very much, Romesh ji from Insights, and pleasure to be here with Advocate Jayant Bakshi as well on this panel. Interestingly, the question that is put up by you is something that most people don't talk about, because people talk general about how sexual harassment happens and what they're probably doing in their company. I would always go by statistics that is given by the government first. When we are taking statistics that is there from very private body, we have no backing to the data. So as much as we've actually seen what the article says shared by you, these are general or not specifics. And I have two articles. One is from indiatoday.in, which came up like 3 days back. And there's another article by a source which is completely from a legal background, not mentioning the name, where they say women's safety and rise in complaints is not only because of the reported ones, but also of the assault complaints that go to the she box. And because I operate from Maharashtra more, National Commission of Women in the last few years has been giving statistics raising Uttar Pradesh to be the #1 place for rising complaints, which has increased from 1029 to 2069. Again, Delhi stands next, which had cases from 2022, about 835 to 442 today, or 422 if appropriately counted. And like JNG has already said, these are only BSE listed or listed of companies which are actually filing annual reports. Now, why we don't have the exact statistics, it's not only because we are reading whatever is there on media or also from background sources, but I also feel very strongly that as much as we have government bringing in so many newer amendments, laws, we also want them to align it with our what we call social security system or the Aadhaar and the PAN that we have, because at least that will create some kind of vigilance in the ROC compliances, by which we can at least locate if companies, setups, MSMEs are actually giving us the data which is right, like having even a basic awareness session done or a policy made. So I feel all of this comprises, only then we can get the exact number of statistics. But if you're asking me from 2022 to 2023, it is much lesser uh, in the number of cases, but that does not mean that we don't have cases at all, whether it is towards male or female.
Yeah, another data which is shared by the this Complykaro. So it talks about the industry wise, and if you look at the sector with the highest reportage, so that's talk about the IT industry, it is 84%, and then second comes the metal industry, it is 65%. Then comes the telecom sector, that is 58%. Then manufacturing 50%, financial services 27%. So these are only the industries which are specified here. We don't know about the others. We don't have as such the data. How do you see? Because if we look at the reasons, so in IT industry, yeah, of course, the gender ratio is very good as of now. With most of the IT industry, that is around 45%. If you look at the manufacturing, then I don't think so. This is more than 30%. If we look at the telecom, yeah, then the gender ratio that is also being good here in the telecom, maybe around 38% or something. And if you look at financial services, here the gender ratio is also low. We can say around 25% or so. Then, if the number of females are more in IT industry, we can expect that more cases may be there. 84% rise, I can understand. If you look at the telecom sector, yeah, number of females are there more, so there may be more number of cases. But when I look at manufacturing and the metal industry, so here the number of female is not, you cannot compare with the IT industry as so. How do you see these cases? These are the genuine cases there. More cases there of sexual harassment. How do you see? How do you decipher this data?
Great question. Let me, in fact, try and answer this by first talking about the actual number of cases rather than a percentage, which I think makes great sense. Now, if you look at the data for this year, the top or the maximum number of cases have been reported at Wipro, which is 141 cases, followed by Infosys, Tech Mahindra. So top three companies, again in the public sector, with the maximum number of reported cases is Wipro, Infosys, and Tech Mahindra. Now, when you have such high numbers, 141 cases of Wipro, 78 for Infosys, 74 for Tech Mahindra, a 84% jump here is super significant. Why? Because they were in the high category, and now they have also increased by 84%, which I think is of great concern to all of us. Coming to something like metals, you may not see metals in absolute value, probably in the top 10 or 15 also. Now, my sense is, if for something like a Sensex companies, which is a list of 30 companies, the only metal company I could probably offhand think of is Tata Steel or JSW Steel. Other than that, there is no metal company. So even if it's gone from 2 to 4 or 2 to 3, maybe let me use 2 to 3, that's 50% increment. But the actual number cases is still much lesser in terms of totality, where again the IT companies lead the way, banks lead the way. HDFC is there, Kotak Mahindra is there, SBI. These are still figuring out in the top 10. Tata Steel does, figure out in the top 10 at 38 cases for this year. But then again, my sense is metals at 65% is also not as alarming as IT at 84% because they were already sitting at a high number of cases. Now, I think some part of your question also said, are some of these cases genuine? Honestly, my practice, I could say that one, every law is being misused. I mean, there are people who would misuse every law. Similarly, PoSH law is no exception. There are cases which are not so genuine, but the percentage of such cases, at least in my practice, I can confidently say is much lesser than even 5%. So 95% or more are absolutely genuine cases that I come across. Let me pause here and also, let Raina come in to see what is her sense around this.
Raina, based on this data, how do you see the reality with the corporate, with maybe the IT industry and other all the sectors? How do you see what is the reality as of now? How many cases are being reported? How many cases are actual cases there? And if we have also any statistics based on industry-wise, based on age group, any gender-wise, so you can please also share that.
Very well explained by Jayant ji. I'll take it from the aspect that he spoke about IT and steel and metal and companies from there. We've worked in the last 1 year across different verticals, and I'll specifically talk about manufacturing, pharma, IT, and chemical. With steel, we are working with IMFA, which is one of the biggest alloy and steel company as well. But coming to when we talk on PoSH, I think most of the companies are very vigilant. In fact, they've also moved from not only creating a policy, but also going ahead and doing a lot of other interventions involving the sensitization of their employees and also their senior level. Now, coming to the complaints that we are talking about and the figures. Why does it happen with metal industry? Is metal, chemical, oil, pharma, these industries basically have a lot of worker level force. And if companies are actually not working on their worker level force by sensitizing them at their premises or probably having a lot of interventions that happen repeatedly, then we are not banging on their heads to give them the feed for thought that it doesn't have to happen. That is why we see a lot of cases that have gone up in those company setups, and some of them have been reported. Like he said, Wipro and Infosys have been seeing a starking rise of cases from 25 to 78, 25 to 86, and so on. Whereas there are companies in the IT sector, even though they have moved from work from home, where we had less number of cases, to coming back, we also know that sometimes they have had fallouts. They've had people leaving the organization. Women employees have been looking at maybe not joining this company and joining another company because they still are in half set mode of being still working from home. Again, saying big companies in IT sector have not been undergoing it because they are constantly having either an LMS system or a recorded system or an awareness session going on because they are a big workforce. That is where we don't see their numbers transition so heavily in comparison to chemical, steel, mining, oil, gold, and any of the others. I'll also be talking on the educational sector. We cater to a lot of educational industry, schools, colleges, institutions where cases are very high but go unreported because less has been done in enforcing a lot of caution, POXO, and sensitization of policies, implementation of annual reports with regard to NEP. And I want to make this very, very, very point blank that, we have to ensure that safety of workplace are also happening at that level, because that's the future generation that we hold. And I would really want something to be done there. So this is a little purview of what we see in the day-to-day understanding with our clientele. Of course, 2022 had a high rise for the Tatas, but 2023 is better off for them, and we see Wipro and Infosys on the top with alarming cases, which is not a very nice sign. But with other industries, there are very many companies which are not very far from the alarming numbers. And though we don't take them here, we still need to be vigilant that if we are not going to take any steps, very soon we'll find them on the top, hitting the charts.
Jayant, I saw also a logic that now the workplaces are more physical now, more people are coming to the offices as of now. That's why also the spike in sexual harassment cases. If you look at the 2020 and 2021, it was almost a work from home. And in 2022, it has been shifted to hybrid work model. And now, yeah, more people are working from it is still hybrid work model, but more people are working from the offices. Do you see the working model also impacts somehow on the sexual harassment cases?
Actually, yes, that is true. In fact, we have also noticed this trend that ever since people have come back to offices, there has been a marked increase in the number of reported cases. That is not to say that there was no harassment happening or no cases of being reported during the time when, COVID times, let me just say by using the umbrella word, COVID times. So even during those times, we saw a lot of cases being reported, but typically, those were cases which were virtual. A message being sent, a video being forwarded, a request that come, switch on your camera. And probably at the end of the day, since everyone was working virtually 24/7, what are you doing? Who all are there in your family? If you stay alone, tell me about your boyfriend. Those kind of questions. All verbal or all, in a sense, digital. Ever since offices have opened, people have come back to work. I think we have also now seen cases where there is unnecessary touching, there's unnecessary asking people to go out on dates, or things like those which are more physical in nature. So definitely a marked increase because of that change of demographics in sense of people are now in office. So yeah, completely the model changed, and hence the number of complaints also have been increased.
Yeah, absolutely, Jan. And what is the nature of complaint maximum are being reported?
Various, but quite honestly, I see a lot of these also, sharing videos, sharing pornographic stuff, indecent messages, inappropriate touching, pinching. I also tend to probably put this, sometimes in my head, and I don't know if this is really correct or not. If I'm looking at people who are maybe at the minimum wages level, blue collared workers, I'm seeing more of inappropriate touching, trying to purposefully touch against someone, brush against someone, or pass a comment here or there, something like that. If I'm looking at a corporate office, probably it's a little more sophisticated in terms of, now it's being sharing of videos or any comments which are double meaning. So I'm guessing also, all these things make a bit of a difference. Demands or requests for sexual favors, for example, typically come out most from the corporate offices, people who are white collared, if I may. In a blue collared setup, I'm seeing more of, physical touching or just abusing or using words like which may cause concerns of sexual harassment. So probably something on those lines could be broadly demarcated.
Then there's a little contradiction. I was going through another report, and that report talks about that only 8% people are aware about the PoSH Act. While we are talking here that this spike in sexual harassment complaints is because more people are aware now. How do you see the awareness as a challenge, and how the companies can, spread the more awareness?
Let me just put you in this situation. If you get to know that you need to wear a seat belt, one is getting the knowledge, two is actually following it, right? We know we have to wear a seat belt. We know we have to wear a mask when we are not okay. And if we don't wear it, then we are not safe. The same thing is with awareness sessions. I think it's very, very unlikely that if we are doing awareness sessions, then we have more cases. We are actually talking two contradicting statements. So if we are doing awareness, one, if the awareness session is done or not, we need to first check that. It's not checked because it's only a tick mark training. Specifically, and many times we see that they are only done in organizations either in the form of recorded sessions, or they are on an LMS, or probably they are done without the sensitization of why we do it. Second, we also need to see whether it's done correctly. When we talk of awareness sessions, we also need to ensure awareness means not pinpointing on the man. Most of the awareness session is like actually victimizing men. And let me tell, men have not done anything wrong for them to be always in the limelight for PoSH Act. PoSH does talk about the Sexual Harassment Act for Women at Workplace, but it also says that it is ensuring that respect, dignity, rights of women are upheld and in limelight of the citizen, not in limelight of showing that the men is an abuser always. So when the person who's doing the awareness session is creating content, is creating an awareness, they have to be very, very careful, aware, vigilant of what they are putting out to the crowd. Now, whether it is blue collared, like Jayant said, or white collared, the first aspect is why are they there and sensitizing them of the gender. The second aspect is telling them that what the act is and what does it uphold. The third aspect is telling them how does it happen. And the fourth aspect is we are not here to victimize any one gender. We are here to create the awareness of safety and ensuring safe, compliant, and good places, better places, great places to work. If that can be upholded, then our awareness will be super, super successful, is what I feel, and none of these cases would happen. In fact, as I was speaking to both of you, I got this IndianExpress.com article, which has just come out on January 7, 2023. And it says that the cases, as per NCW chairperson Rekha Sharma, spiked up 5 times as soon as we found people coming back to work. At the same time, if I look at a TCS article that you shared a few days back, Romeshji, was very informative, which is said that the attrition rate is also getting higher. So why do women not want to come back to a workforce? Is the question that we need to ask, whether it was COVID or not. Why do they not want to come back to their offices? Why do they want to change their workplaces? Why do they still want to sit at home and work? If that was the case, that we are still having sexual harassment cases even working from home, then they should be happy coming to work at office. So here there are a lot of contradictions that we should be talking, and this can only be solved when we are having communication during an awareness and not one-sided conversation of a trainer talking out to the crowd. So that, I guess, will solve many of the aspects of the first hitch that we have. If awareness is the key, then we would have less number of cases for sure. Over to you.
And we tried to discuss about the all the important parts of the report. Anything else which is important and we did not discuss, would like to share?
I think I'll just probably add to what Raina also said, and probably my understanding of it, that initially in my experience, I have seen as the awareness grows, number of complaints do also grow, but then it's a plateau. It will grow and then it will come down. That's the way I see this. So definitely, if you say that there is a 31% increase, is it something which is bad? Probably some part of me thinks, no, it's not that bad as well. Why? Because it also means that people are coming out and talking about it. I mean, I'm also looking at the fact, of course, the number of cases have increased, which is bad, but the fact that people are now coming out and talking about it is great. How did that happen? I think a lot of it has to do with the awareness. As Dr. Raina said, as we go, talk to people, create that awareness, people also get to understand what is sexual harassment. I completely remember a case that we were very recently dealing with. The person said, I attended a PoSH training and after that I realized I'm actually being sexually harassed. And so I filed a complaint. It's a very empowering statement, really, because the person was suffering all throughout, thinking, maybe just I'm thinking in my head, this is not sexual harassment. Only after having attended a particular training, she realized, no, she needs to speak about this. I think that's wonderful. So awareness is really helping. The second part, of course, is our attitude as a society. We are evolving. Today, the victim blaming is actually going down. We don't do that. Of course, there are, all kinds of people. There are all kinds of ICs. There are all kinds of judges. You will always find someone doing this. But as a larger society, I can tell you the victim blaming has really gone down. So our attitude as a society has also changed. Thirdly, all the legal reforms that we talk about, the PoSH Act, various other provisions in the Indian Penal Code, IPC, they are just giving us more avenues, more opportunity, more chances to go out and talk about it. Lastly, and not to make this a very long answer, I think also the rise of the social media. Me Too movement is probably just one part of it. But that whole thing that I can go out and express. Today, Twitter has become like everyone's police station. Okay, if my company is not willing to hear, if they're not doing a great job, If the IC is biased, I'll put this on media. I'll go to Twitter. I'll go on LinkedIn and say, my organization is not very great. It also,
Right.
in some way, forces the employers to do a better job, which I think is wonderful. Slowly and steadily, as they start doing a good job, it will become our culture. We will imbibe it. So one way or the other, I think a culmination of all these things is also leading to a higher number of cases.
Jayant and Raina for sharing your wonderful thoughts and being the part of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ramesh.